Welcome in to Run the League, and this is the Stardom Situm episode of Week 15 of the NFL season, and it's playoff time, so let's get these lineups set and ready to go. All right, everyone, I am hoping everybody has been doing a great job this year in fantasy football. It's Week 15. It's time to get playoff wins. It's time to just put it all on the line, let the chips fall as they may. So let's do this with some Stardom Situm, and let's get some wins this week. So starting with quarterback position, I really like Taysom Hill this week against the Jets. I'm going back to it. I think Taysom Hill is one of those guys who just really is going to have a great rest of season. I'm sorry, taking on the Buccaneers, but they're going to have to throw the football a ton. They're going to have to make a lot of plays. And I just think Taysom Hill is going to continue to play really solid football against the Buccaneers. Even though that is a very good defense, I think that he can make up some ground with his legs in that matchup. I meant the Jets because Tua is taking on the Jets this week. I like Tua Tagovailoa taking on the Jets. The Jets have been hemorrhaging points in general to every position, but the Dolphins' running attack is a little bit banged up with Myles Gaskin out, Philip Lindsay out. I think they're going to rely on throwing the ball a little bit more, and I'll get to one of my other starts this week at the wide receiver position, also on the Dolphins, but it's directly linked towards Tua having a very nice day. My start of the week this week, though, at the quarterback position is Tom Brady. Yes, Tom Brady is going to be my start of the week against the New Orleans Saints. Saints have been great against the run game, but they are downright terrible against the pass game. Chris Godwin has absolutely destroyed them every time he's played them for the most part. Mike Evans on the outside will probably draw attention from Marshawn Lattimore, but the problem is the Buccaneers have so many weapons with Rob Gronkowski, and Brashad Perryman finally went off. So there's just too many options here, and they're going to attack that Saints secondary. My sits this week at the quarterback position are Joe Burrow at Denver. The Denver Broncos defense has played well. They're running the football well, so they're going to try to play some keep away in this game. And I just think the atmosphere in Denver, Joe Burrow, that offense being inconsistent, the Denver secondary really has been strong all season long. I just think this is ripe for a really bad game for Joe Burrow. I think they're going to try to rely on Joe Mixon in that run game a little bit more instead of having Burrow throw the ball around the place. My other sit this week, Derek Carr taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Raiders just really are struggling offensively. We saw that against the Chiefs this week. I think Cleveland is going to, again, try to run the ball, rely on their defense, and they're kind of trending in the right direction right now. So I just think the Browns are going to win this game, and I don't see Derek Carr having a very trustworthy performance this week. Moving on to the running back position, my starts this week, D'Onta Foreman, the running back for the Tennessee Titans. He was the guy last week. If you go back and watch that game, he dominated the carries until he got a little bit banged up, and they pulled him out from the game, and he didn't get as much work in the second half. But they take on the Steelers this week, and I think they are going to feed D'Onta Foreman. The Steelers are the worst defense against the run. They just gave up 200 yards to Dalvin Cook a week ago. I think D'Onta Foreman is going to have a very nice performance against the Steelers this week. I really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Helaire found the end zone twice this past week. I think there's a good chance he does it again against the Chargers. I also really like the combination for the Cardinals of James Conner and Chase Edmonds against the Detroit Lions. We just saw Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon both have very successful days against the Lions defense. I expect the same from Conner and Edmonds. If both play, they're both going to be pretty nice starts. Obviously, if it's just Conner, my goodness, I mean, he might be the RB1 on the week if Conner is the only running back for the Cardinals, because they're probably going to give him the ball 3 times at the goal line. He might have 3 touchdowns by the end of the day. My start of the week at the position is one that's a little bit iffy right now, and the only reason I say that is because we don't know if he's going to play. But if Elijah Mitchell plays against the Atlanta Falcons this week, he is absolutely a must start. Falcons are bottom 5 in giving up fantasy points to the running back position. Elijah Mitchell has been really good when he's been on the field and getting the lion's share of the carries. So Elijah Mitchell, start of the week if he plays this week. My sits this week at the running back position, Miles Sanders taking on the Washington football team. Tough matchup. The Washington football team, they do a really nice job against the run. And Miles Sanders he's reliant on getting big plays on his few carries. And I don't see it happening. Not this week against the football team. I mentioned Rashad Penny as a good waiver wire pickup, and I still believe that. And I think he could get quite a few carries against the Rams, but I just don't trust it this week. The Rams defense is pretty good, but I think the bigger part that I'm concerned about is, can the Seahawks stop the Rams from getting a big lead and then forcing the Seahawks to throw the ball a ton? That's the tough part of this equation, so I would like to stay away from Penny if possible. The top guy that I'm worried about is a guy who's actually been extremely hot this year. He might classify as the league winner in fantasy football this year, but it's Leonard Fournette taking on the New Orleans Saints. I mentioned Tom Brady and how I think he's going to have a great performance, and I do believe that, but I don't know if Fournette's going to be great against the Saints. The Saints are the number one defense against running backs. Therefore, I just would like to stay away from Fournette. I know you're not going to. You have to play him. And listen, there's a chance he falls in the end zone twice and you're fine, but I don't think you're going to get the consistent level of production that he's gotten over the past few weeks. So I'm just concerned. You play him, but there's some doubts there. There's a little concern. So if you have two other really, really good plays at the running back position, I might look at it, but it's hard to get away from the hot hand that is Leonard Fournette right now. Moving on to the wide receiver position, I got a couple under-the-radar names that I really like this week, but Darnell Mooney taking on the Minnesota Vikings. I just think it's a great spot for Mooney. I think the Vikings are going to win this game and build up a nice lead against the Bears, but I think Darnell Mooney will have a great performance for the Bears as they're trying to play some keep-up against the Vikings. And, we saw Big Ben have a great performance against the Vikings, so there's no reason to think that Justin Fields can't at least have some success this week. I also, in the same matchup, really like KJ Osborne if Adam Thielen is out. The Bears defense, not great against the pass. A lot of the attention will be on Justin Jefferson. I think Osborne is ripe to have a really good performance once again for the Minnesota Vikings. I also really like Brandon Cooks this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Texans are trying to figure some things out with Davis Mills at quarterback, and this is a perfect spot for them. I think they'll actually be able to move the ball, and I think Cooks will be a big reason why. My start of the week, and this goes back to the reason that I have Tua as my as a start this week at the quarterback position, it's Jalen Waddle taking on the New York Jets. I think Waddle, he has been a target machine. He's on pace to have the most receptions by any rookie in NFL history. So he's getting the ball, he's getting opportunities, and when you get opportunities against the New York Jets, great things happen in fantasy football. So I really like him this week against the Jets. My sits this week at the wide receiver position, I don't really like Michael Gallup taking on the New York Giants. I just think he's a bit of an afterthought in the offense to some extent, and I do think that they're going to run the ball a ton against the Giants. I think this is ripe to be a very good game for Zeke and maybe Tony Pollard if he is back. And I don't know. With so many guys to throw the ball to when you're talking about Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, I just think it's hard to predict that Gallup has a good performance in a game that I think the Cowboys will rely more on their run game and their defense to win this one. I'm also sitting DJ Moore, and it's hard to say that. I know DJ has had some success throughout the season, but he's just a hard guy to play right now because you don't know who his quarterback is going to be. The offense has been so inconsistent in Carolina, and now they're taking on one of the best defenses in the league on the road in Buffalo, where we don't know what the weather is going to be like. So I'm staying away from DJ Moore this week, if at all possible. The top guy that I'm worried about is Hollywood Brown taking on the Packers. Hollywood has been awesome this year, but he's finally starting to come back down to earth, and that is directly linked to Lamar Jackson's play at the quarterback position. Now Lamar might not play, and Tyler Huntley might be the quarterback, and I just don't think that situation is a great one against the Packers this week. Moving on to tight end, I like Dallas Goedert taking on the Washington football team. I think he'll be targeted heavily. I think the Eagles are going to have to throw the football, and I think the ball's going to be in Jalen Hurts' hands to try to make plays this week against the football team who have a stout run defense. My start of the week at the tight end position is Pat Freiermuth taking on the Tennessee Titans. I think that's going to be a good game, and Pat has just been really consistent for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. So I think the Muth is going to continue to do some great things for the Steelers and will be a very nice start, probably a top 8 play this week for the Steelers. And finally, my sit this week at the tight end position is Dalton Schultz taking on the Giants. Similar reasoning to Michael Gallup. I just don't think they're going to throw the ball a ton, and volume is king for these receiving options. So Dalton Schultz, unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be a great week for him. So that's pretty much it for the starts and sits this week. Really excited. It's playoff time. It's time to put together your best roster decisions that you possibly can, and hopefully I was able to help with that. So this has been Run the League on NFL and 365 Sports, and I am excited to talk to you all next week. And don't forget about the Fantasy Football Show on Thursday. But for this week, we're out.